Hello everyone, welcome to the centre of Germany in Oschersleben, and we are here at the motorsport arena of the same name as we head for our sprint qualifying for the second round of Challenger League Season 10. We're following Enigma on their solitary qualifying lap here, one-shot quali as usual. A little bit of lag there, but it seems that Enigma has stayed on course with the first two tight corners, so we're heading on to the triple curve into that turn 6 chicane, turn 6 hairpin, sorry. But I am joined by Nuno at the moment, who will be following along with me, so we'll see how the strategy plays out. Looks like Kraft has taken our pole, ahead of Sexy Digger by almost a tenth and a half. Wow. So, Kraft and Sexy Digger will be the front row, but they'll be also followed by Jeff with solid qualifying to put himself into P3. Pretty decent times overall. Just hovering over that 30-second time limit for the front runners. Matimar in P4, but followed by Komikaze and Urist in P6. Kano, who is currently second in the driver standings at the moment, sitting in P8 after that lap. Gwetsley in P9 and Rusky following in P10. We've got Enigma in P11, the driver we were following earlier, in PRO, followed by Tomatoes and Gorlomi, then Game on Goose in 14th. Then we've got Kalitka, BK, Emma Box, and Amoir rounding out the grid. Very big discrepancies in the times between a couple of these drivers, especially when we go further along the grid. Some people really not getting that first lap, that single lap of qualifying to snuff. But we'll have to see what happens in the race. It's a pretty chaotic track, I believe. Lots of areas where cars can go sideways and up and down and all around. Lots of places for them to also lag rocket.
Yeah, I did some pre-practice races or pre-race practice, and I was always starting from the back, and it seemed very easy to climb up a lot of position at the start. So I guess that sort of tells how chaotic the start of this race can be.
Alright, we've got 18 drivers on the grid, 5 red lights. A little bit of a slow start from everyone it seemed, but Kraft has gotten away just well. Kind of fighting Urus as we head into turn 1 and turn 2. Rusky hitting the curb out there. It's already chaos as we enter the first two corners of the track. Jeff fighting with Komikaze. He's already fallen down a couple of positions, but it's Kraft holding on to the lead. Kato's already dropped up to third. Jeff has lost a ton of positions into that hairpin as we've just followed him now. And all the way out of the points in a P11, we'll head back to the leaders. Kraft, Sexy Digger, Kato. Huge collision there. I think Kato might have forced 3 cars off wide there as we enter the final sector. It's Tomatoes and Matimar now fighting for P4 as we enter lap 2. Ooh, tight one here.
You got Sexy Digger that's there.
Yeah, it's a 3-man race for P1 with Kraft, Sexy Digger, and Kato all keeping each other accountable. Into the back straight. Kato, ooh, a little bit dangerous there. He's going off side by side, but he misses the position. Both of them miss out. Kraft is going to be the big beneficiary. Kato finds a way around him, and he's gotten back into the slip, so Sexy Digger has a lot of work to do if he's want to be able to get back to those two. Oh, tries to make the move into turn 2. Not quite there, though. Kraft still holding on. It's going to be really hard to make a strong overtake in the wet. He's actually lost out on that hairpin now, and Kraft has gotten some free air, almost a second ahead of Kato, followed back. Matimar has gotten to P3, he's asking for Sexy Digger to slip him, but he's made a mistake right there, and Kato is also chasing the 2 down quite rapidly as well in P6, or P5, sorry. There's a fight for P3. Behind them, Tomatoes. Jeff has made a recovery into P7. Behind them, Gwetsley and Komikaze also making that fight. There's a little bit of a lag rocket. That's huge. 3 cars wide. Komikaze getting through all of them. Enigma and Urus is also going to pick up some places. Tomatoes, the big loss from that. He's going to lose even more positions as Rusky goes wide trying to avoid contact. Ooh, huge collision there. Glad we just caught that right there. Then Kalitko and Enigma now fighting for P9. They're a long way off of Jeff now, who's fighting Gwetsley for P7. The two drivers just giving each other zero space at the moment. And we go back to the leader, and it's Kraft now almost 2 seconds in front of Kato. And his pace on the wets seems to be the real deal today. He's really breaking away. We've got a lag storm. Oh no. Lots of cars going off, but it looks like... Oh, Matimar has been a big accident in that lag storm. Oh no. That's a big problem for him. He was sitting around the he was sitting in P3. Oh, big lag rocket between Eurus and Kalitka. What was that? Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
And there's more trouble into turn 1. Gamemonger is copying the brunt of that as well. Oh, there's collisions everywhere on the field
Jesus
now.
Christ.
An absolute chaos here in Oschersleben. Gonna go back up. It's Wetzley and Matimar in P7 and 8 fighting for the points at the moment. But they are a long way back for Tomatoes, 3 seconds away. Rusky getting past Tomatoes actually into P9. Tomatoes got the inside in turn 1, trying to fight that but won't be able to. Tries to make a move into turn 2 as well, but is just not close enough at the moment. Oh, though, the inside into that hairpin is going to prove the real deal for Tomatoes. Makes the move. He's trying to make some gains here, but he's still a long way back from the points. Going to go further up. Matimar and Gwetsley just slipping each other now. The two teammates in Riker Auto just trying to make any sort of dent into the deficit they have at the moment. Huge lead for Kraft as he's starting lap 9 now, I believe.
I think Kato earlier on, he made things much easier for him when he went for the battle against Sexy Digger. Then he pushed him off, I think, and then all of that slipstream train got all like destroyed basically.
Yeah. And speaking of, Kato is now in serious trouble of losing this P2 because Sexy Digger and Kato have caught up to him quite rapidly. So as the grip starts to lose out on these wet tyres, maybe we may see a mistake from the French driver here, perhaps.
I would not like to be Sexy Digger at this moment, in the middle of two very bingy drivers, and that might be a very stressful experience for him, I think.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Kato, of course, not too bad in that regard either. Sexy Digger going side by side, is going to go to the outside, brakes a bit late, finds a bit of grass, is going to lose the position to Kato, who's going to go a bit wide there, maybe shoved Sexy Digger off a little bit, but they're still on track and they're still following that slip. Both drivers looking quite close to Kato. If Kato makes a mistake here, Kato's going to go for it. Kato goes on the outside. Oh, Kato there, just hitting the curb on the inside there, losing a bit of speed, and Kato is going to hold the position there. 16 is just in the middle of a little bit of a sandwich there in terms of the ping. Going to go back to Kamikaze, who's in P5. He's still a bit too far away to challenge P6 Matimar. Jeff to Jeff has actually lost that position to Matimar, and behind them is Gwetsley. Got Enigma and Tomatoes in P7 and P8. Rusky, Emma Box, Kalitka, Eurus, Goose, BK, and Amoir. But we've got Kraft actually, who's already lapped Amoir as he enters the final lap of the race. But we're going to focus on the two behind because Sexy Digger has got the inside into the triple turn, going into the hairpin. Kato's got the inside as it switches back. And we're actually going to go back to Kraft because he's just about to finish the sprint race here in Oschersleben. It is a comfortable win from lights to flag for Kraft. Going to go back, Sexy Digger making the move there. I think he's got the job done, and he's going to take P2 over Kato, and Kato in P4 behind him, Kamikaze in P5. And the points paying positions have finished up. Enigma and Rusky fighting to the end. Actually, Rusky getting in front of Tomatoes right at the end. Emma Box, Golomi, and the rest of our drivers just coming into the fold and finishing the race. Wow. What a sprint race indeed.
Yeah, once again, Kraft looking very dominant and looks like Kubo from last season.
A little bit as he gets his third win from 3 races. Also takes the fastest lap of that race too. With that performance, Sexy Digger coming in P2, then followed by Kato and Kata, who were both all really close in that fight for P2. It was quite interesting. Kamikaze in P5, good result for him. Matimar in P6, Jeff to Jeff, Gwetsley in P7 and P8. Decent points for Riker, also decent points for Heritage Performance, getting 1st and 7th today. Enigma in P9, followed by Rusky in P10. That'll be the first drivers to not finish in the points. Followed by Tomatoes, Emma Box, Gorlomi, Urist fighting out to the end as well for P14 and 15 respectively. Game on Goose, BK and Amoir 38 seconds behind the leader. Quite the spread of the field after the first few laps, really jumbled the order up in terms of just the amount of crashes we saw, the amount of collisions. Of course, the big one over there between Urist and Kalitka, losing them lots of time as they entered the first quarter of the track as well. Alrighty, back we are. Feature race qualifying. Let's follow our championship leader in Craft for the time being as we get ourselves underway. So the lap times obviously are going to go quite a fair bit down compared to the wet racing. Ooh.
Already lag storm.
Already lag storm and quality. Interesting. Oh.
The drivers might not feel it because they are all driving alone, so they cannot really see the flying cars. But
the flying cars around, so hopefully it doesn't really affect the drivers all that much. Ooh, Sexy Digger now with the best lap of them all in 28.70. Pretty good, I think.
Yeah, if there's someone, if there's someone who I feel like could maybe challenge Craft for today's race, I think it's gonna be Sexy Digger. He also has experience of being one of the best drivers in CL. Like back in UL season 10, he was also a very dominant driver in CL back then. So he does have experience of being a front runner in this league.
For sure. He's quite the talent, all things considered. It's a 3-horse race for quali at the moment. I don't think Sexy Digger actually got a decent turn into that hairpin there, so he might be able to find some sort of improvement on this lap if he can just nail the final sector together. And he's coming up to the line. It's not going to be an improvement, but Matimar actually shoots up to join him on the front row. Big surprise there.
Oh, this could spice up things.
Very
especially when it's Mati there.
So it's going to be Sexy Digger and Matimar sharing the front row for the feature race today. Craft in only 3rd in qualifying, followed by Kamikaze. All those 4 drivers just 2 tenths between them. Tomatoes in P5 and Gwetsley in P6, the other drivers to head under the 29-second barrier. Kata in P7, followed by Kato. And Golobi and Jeff to Jeff round out the top 10. Let's go further behind us. Enigma and Rusky will share the 6th row, followed by Urist, Emma Box, Kalitka, BK, Amoir, and Game on Goose will be starting at the back after missing qualifying.
Very interesting qualifying there for Tomatoes. Epic P5 in JL is usually the guy who takes pole position, but in a race things never seem to go right. But let's see what he can do here in the CL feature.
Yeah, maybe it's just about his time. Maybe it could be a race to remember if he can get a good start off as well. It also depends solely on those first stint tyres. Could be really make or break the race, especially with how chaotic the opening stints can get.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of softs, a lot of mediums. Medium seeing the tyre of choice for the front runners. Tomato is the highest running driver on the softs. He's going to try and make a way through the field as he enters turn 1. Today we've got 3 wide, almost 4 wide heading into the second corner, but it's Matimar actually in the lead for a moment. It's 3 wide into the hairpin. Kamikaze loses a bunch of time. Huge amount of drivers went off there. Matimar is in the lead now. Sexy Digger and Craft well behind him. And hey, what an interesting start that was. Kato fighting for P4 now. And Urist is going a little bit too to the inside. Tomatoes knocks him wide. That's even more. Oh my god, the Bobcats. A bit of a concertina effect there. but it's Matimar. Kamikaze going wide again, even more collisions for him. Unfortunately, it's Matimar in front, Sexy Dingo and Craft fighting for P2, Kato and Gwetsley right behind them as well. Following further back, it's Tomatoes in P6, not the worst start for the jail driver. BK and Kamikaze now fighting for P7. This is a big crowd behind them. Urist and Enigma go wide. Jeff to Jeff finds the wall. Oh, there's collisions everywhere at the moment, and this crowd is only getting more tense the more laps they stick together. Huge pack of drivers.
Got caught up at the front.
Oh, they have. They've really caught up to him. Big collision there. Kato and Emberbox feeling the brunt of that. Going super wide. I'm going to go back to the leaders because there is a 5-car pack for the lead at the moment. And it's a Matimar train as Kato is trying to make the most of his soft tyres and get through the field. Gwetsley, on the other hand, is hanging back on those hards. He's really going to benefit a lot. Kato goes wide. Gwetsley and Matimar, it's a Riker Auto 1-2 at the moment. As Kato tries to redeem himself for that mistake earlier and get past Gwetsley, but it's going to be tough given the ping. He slits back, tries to go for the switchback, and it works out. Gwetsley falls back behind Sexy Digger as well, knowing full well that he can really prosper from the fighting on those hard tyres. Sexy Digger and Craft also fighting the... Oh, it's the barrier, the rocket off the course of turn 3, and both drivers who are starting so highly are now 6th and 7th now as they sit behind Tomatoes on the soft tyres. Go for behind, it's BK and Jeff challenging each other. Golormi has actually left the race, so that's our first DNF real quick. To the track, Kamikaze finding a... Oh, that's a lag rocket. That's a lag, that's a lag storm. Oh, Golormi should not have done that. Oh, are we back? We're back, it looks like we're back. Okay. Let's go back to the lead. Gwetsley is actually in the lead now. Matimar must have hit something hard during that because he's 2 seconds back from the lead now after that lag storm really did not benefit him at all. And now it's Gwetsley and Kato. Gwetsley is now finding the softs to be really difficult to drive. Say about lap 7, lap 8 is around the laps you'd be expecting them to head in the pits. So maybe Kato might actually find some time slipstreaming Gwetsley here. Maybe find an extra lap on the soft tyres. And he stays out behind Gwetsley. Still 2 seconds ahead of Matimar and Craft, who are both on the mediums. Sexy Digger further up. Tomatoes heading into the pits there. Jeff to Jeff in P6 gets the inside over Sexy Digger, who makes a bit of a mistake there. He's got to hold on to the position there. Kamikaze in P7.
Yeah, that's the JR race winner right there. Jeff running in P5 right now, so really a nice weekend for him.
Pretty good for him, all things considered. A little bit of chaos between Enigma and Urist, both finding the grass off track. Rusky and Game on Goose chasing the two down, fighting for those last few points. Actually, some Tomatoes. Kato's actually stayed out for a 9th lap of softs, which is very interesting. Tomatoes in P12, still yet the only person in the pit so far, but also Kato on those fresh mediums. BK just coming out of the pits as well as Kalitka and Emmabox. We're going to go further back. Gwetsley is still out. Kato is finally in off of those well-worn soft tyres. He's the only one still on the softs at the moment, and he's going to go for another set, which is an interesting strategy to go for. He's going to come out just in front of his teammate, pulls the move out just barely there. Enigma giving him a bit of space to grab that slipstream. There's a little bit of trouble back there.
I think Callum might just try to soft at the end of the race. If he just do 8 lap stints, oh Jesus Christ, that crashed there with Wrist and Goose. But yeah, I think Carlo can actually go with just soft at the end of the race if we just do 8 lap stints.
8 laps from here, yeah, he'd be able to do the 3-stop and might be able to have the pace because he is running alone at this moment. He'd be able to undercut the drivers in front of him. Speaking of drivers in front of him, Tomatoes is now into P7, so he's made the hards, the early stop to hard tyres work out as well. Urist just finding that slip on his older hards. Amwa has also left the race, so that is the second retirement in 11 laps. Goose into PT. We've got a lot of drivers into the pits now. Sexy Digger, Matimar, Jeff to Jeff, they're all going to be undercut by Tomatoes here as they all head on to a second set of mediums after 11 laps. It's Goose and Jeff to Jeff behind. We're going to see if Matimar and Sexy Digger can really put on the pressure and perhaps catch up to Tomatoes and furthermore catch up to Kato, who's now into P2, 5 seconds behind Gwetsley. You have to consider though that Kato does have an extra stop compared to some of the drivers behind him, such as Kraft and Matimar. Kraft looking pretty good at the moment in P3. He's still on those on the fresh mediums. He could do some damage later on to this race, especially since he's got some clean air in front of him as well. Behind him, Tomatoes might be able to Tomatoes and Urist in particular might be able to hold off the two behind him on the fresh mediums. Urist on that 13 lap hards, he's going to struggle. If he stays on for another lap, he does not. He's going in for perhaps 2 sets of mediums to finish us off. Wesley comes out as well onto the medium tyres, and the overcut in his favour has worked out, though he's still a long way behind Kraft and even more behind Kato, who's now our race leader, and Kato will be planning to really pull away and make those tyres work.
Yeah, he really needs to get away from Kraft. He has better tires. If he's not doing that, then the strategy ain't not really gonna work well.
Not the greatest lap from him though on that lap. He was 3/10 slower than Kraft on lap 14. Gwetsley into P3. Tomatoes is going to try and hold on to this position as best he can. His tyres are aging. He was the first to stop, but he is on the hard tyres, so he might be able to make a 2-stop work. Perhaps on another set of hards. Did he have to stretch it though? He'd have to stretch the hards a bit more than most other drivers could. He did only go about 7 laps on those soft tyres to start his stint, but now that Sexy Digger is in front of him, he might be able to grab that slipstream and really make something work out for him on this stint. Matimar fallen away a bit, maybe a bit of a collision with Tomatoes, is in the P6. Then Jeff to Jeff, Kata, and Kamikaze in P9. Got Enigma followed by Rusky, who is on quite used softs, and Urist, who is on quite fresh mediums, who actually makes the pass on him as we speak there. He's going to be a lot faster on those fresh tyres. We've got BK, Game On Goose, and Kalitka, followed by Emma Box at the back after our 2 retirements. And yeah, no lapping so far, which is always nice to see. Kato is going to find a bit of a struggle. I think he might be
starting getting closer and closer. That place is just completely superior,
good time to pit, I'd say. But he's yeah, he's got 16 laps. So I'm not sure if the softs will be faster than... It's going to be a little hard there because the softs going for 8 laps as opposed to the mediums going for 8 laps isn't like... I feel like that 8th lap of Sops is quite difficult, but Kato's got to really make the most of the first opening few laps where he's just got the raw pace, especially compared to the drivers around him at the moment. It's a big dictator of the race if Kato can get past these guys with relative ease. Tomatoes goes wide, but it looks like he's got the job done. And Tomatoes is going to...
some chaos there.
Yeah, a little bit of chaos there, but Kato is free and alive and ready to push on those fresh tyres and make the undercut work once again. Sexiga and Gwetsley now in the P2 and 3 and 2 respectively, sorry. But they are... Again, the thing is that in position... Kato's got to make the most of this because he's in net P4 at the moment because he's still got to make the extra stop.
Yeah, I think Kraft might actually... I think Kraft next time he pits might be the last one. He could go like hards or mediums again. So yeah, looking very interesting, I think, and Kraft might actually win because of that pit stop save, but we will see now.
It will be difficult to gauge because it's the difference between Kato going for 8 lap softs and Kraft, Gwetsley, and Sexy Digger going for 11 lap mediums, which for the most of that time, I think Kato is going to have the pace advantage in terms of just raw tyre strength, of course, but the mediums...
Crucially, Kraft is on clean air.
Big mistakes from Kato, big mistakes from Sexy Digger and Gwetsley as well. It's going to give Kraft even more of a leeway onto this stint. This is not where Kato wants to be losing time, of course. Jeff to Jeff actually catching him a little bit, but he is on very weak medium tyres at the moment. He might have to go for one more lap to make the strategy work out, and so is Matimar That 11th lap of mediums is really a struggle for some of these drivers. 29.88 from Jeff to Jeff, 32nd lap from Matimar. Kraft still quite pacey on those tyres though.
Yeah, it makes all of the difference, and I think that it shows why he's very likely going to win this race now.
Might be a collision here. Gwetsley just giving Cato the position, knowing full well he's heading into the pits now. No, he's actually going to take the slip. Gwetsley is going to bet on perhaps having fresher tyres than the drivers around him at the end of the race, though he is going on lap 12 medium tyres. No, actually, I'm sorry about that. He actually started on the hards. I am mistaken there. So Gwetsley can afford to go on a little bit longer on the mediums, but he won't want to go on it for too much longer, as Cato is dragging him along. Kraft is 3 seconds behind Cato now, and it's quite a good position to be in.
A little mistake there.
Though the in-lap was not the prettiest, I'd say. Wetsley into the pits is going to come out into P4 in front of this massive train of cars. Tomatoes, Jeff to Jeff, Kata, Enigma, all in this little bit of a train that's got... We've got three cars go wide. Matimar and Enigma, the big beneficiaries of that. Matimar just on those fresh mediums. We really appreciate him to get out of that trouble. Enigma, though, is fighting that position hard. Oh, there's still more trouble here. Jeff to Jeff going through the outside. It's 3 wide into the chicane. Oh, dear. Enigma heads into the pits, trying to avoid the rest of it. And it's Matimar and Jeff to Jeff now fighting for P5 as they still fight. Jeff to Jeff finds a bit of position. He's going to go on the inside. It looks like the position done, but Matimar's just going to take the slip and not fight that too much longer. We're going to go further up. Gwetsley and Sexting in P4 and P3. And the big issue here is Kato, who is now into the pits. The big question is how far he's going to be from Gwetsley and Kato. It is actually not too far from Gwetsley at all. He's right on his tail. So realistically, P2 should be the minimum for Kato at this position, though Kraft has got a big buffer, and that might be the deciding factor in this race.
Yeah, once again, it's the pace difference, and I think Kraft knew he had the pace, so he was quite patient at the beginning, and in the end, he eventually managed to get himself up there.
Ooh, a little bit of trouble here between Matimar and Jeff to Jeff. Jeff has got the position back, but it looks like Matimar is going to try and make a move onto the inside of turn 2. Both drivers still going side by side. It's quite tight. They've both gone wide again. They're losing even more time to each other. Like, it's a bit of a trouble too, because at the moment these two drivers don't really have anything to lose because they are so far behind and in front of the next pack of drivers. Urist and Enigma here fighting with Tomatoes and Kata. Lots of drivers to contend with here as they are the final 4. Ooh, big shove from Enigma. Urist is going to lose a lot of time. Kata makes 3 positions in as many corners. And he heads into P7 with Tomatoes still trying to fight him off on similar worn tyres. Tomatoes going inside. There's still more trouble. Enigma fighting the inside of turn 3. It looks like that trouble is faded away now. Kata, Tomatoes.
Also, big battle for second place right now. They're all very close to each other. Kato, I think, is up to second place.
Has gotten the position back from the 2, but Sexy Dig will be hoping perhaps that Kato's form really falls away as his tyres do into these final 4 laps they're heading into. But well in front, 5.5 second gap now. Kraft has actually pulled away on those medium tyres. He's looking quite strong.
Yeah, he literally just lost like 1/10 on the final lap. I just saw it, and Jesus Christ! And those tires are totally different. I think Kato should be like catching him, and no, it's
the
really,
gap
really
difference on the last lap was Kato was faster by 1/10.5. So
yeah, like not really that much considering the tires, I would say.
Especially as Kato's is really going to start to lose their advantage now. I'd say the softs by this point are about as fast as the mediums are.
Yeah, this might show that how one extra pit stop might potentially not work sometimes. But yeah, I think Kraft got yet another win, and I think will be his 4th of the season in just 4 races. So yeah, just continue to pull away.
Yeah, he doesn't need to start on pole to make it work as he enters the penultimate lap. Sexy Digger and Gwetsley still trying to decide who's going to finish on the podium between the two, but it looks like Sexy Digger has gotten the gap to Gwetsley, though Gwetsley, if Sexy Digger makes a bit more like a mistake or anything, he's on the hunt, and he's actually gaining on him a little bit as we enter the chicane there. Jeff and Matimar still fighting between themselves for P5, but the gap between the next two cars, Catter and Tomatoes, is a lot closer now, so any big mistakes might get punished with even more positions lost. We've got Urist and Enigma in the last two positions on the points. But the rest of the drivers behind them are sort of just in their own race. Kalitka and Game Mongo still fighting away for P14 as they were in the sprint. And we're going to go back to the leader in Kraft. He has found a way to win despite the differences in strategy. He wins the feature as he does the sprint in Oschersleben. P2 goes to Kato once again. Gwetsley and Sexy Digger fight it out to the very end, and Gwetsley actually takes the podium away. Quite the tight finish there. Sexy Digger will have to settle for 4th. Jeff and Matimar 5th and 6th. Kato getting close, but not close enough to make the move there. Tomatoes in P8, Urist in P9, and Enigma in P10. Wow. Quite the interesting strategy battle between the 2 and 3 stop there. And, yeah. Got a little bit of anger there from Sexy Digger, I think. He was not happy with losing that podium there to Gwetsley. And Kato also using the soft tyres to take the fastest lap of the race at 28.1. Definitely with a bit of slip there.
That's a hell of a fast lap there.
Yeah. Definitely not a lap you get under normal circumstances. A lot of slip on the longer straights on this track will definitely benefit you in that regard. But Kraft 4 from 4. Kato,
and this might be a confident booster, I think. The start didn't start well, but with him being a bit patient, he managed to eventually get up there, and I think this might be something that might tell a bit more about the future races, I think, and give him that confidence that he can always do it.
He can always do it, he always has the pace. If he just drives his heart out, and we saw that today. Gwetsley in P3, Sexy Digger, Jeff, Matimar, Kato, Tomatoes, Urist, and Enigma, the point scorers for today's feature race. Wow. Bit of a... I think the only one who really... I mean, Gwetsley didn't start super high up. The big one was Matimar, who did start in P2 for a little way to 6th, though. Still decent points for Riker. Heritage Performance should surely hold on to their lead in the Constructors as well, with the P1, P5 today. We'll go further down to the non-point scorers. Kamikaze, Rusky, and Hammerbox, Kalika, BK, Game on Goose, Amwa, and Gorlomi are 2 DNFs for today. Well, quite the interesting races we had today. We're going to head back for a little bit. We've got next week we are heading to, I believe,
It's
Matra in Hungary, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Hungarian Grand Prix next week. And Andy's home race, so we'll have to see how that goes on. There's a few Hungarians along the service, so we'll have to see how they perform. For now, though, that'll be it for us. We'll see you next week. Thank you, and good night.